Hi everyone, and welcome to Sapphire Rose's Superliminal All Collectibles Speedrun tutorial. I'm Samwise, and in this video we'll be going over the level Induction. Whether you're just aiming to find all the hidden collectibles for the first time, or trying to get involved with the speedrun, this guide will show tips and tricks to help you get started. If you haven't already seen it, I'd recommend you check out my overview video first to get an idea of how this series works and some general points about the run. As always, you can find a link to that in the description. If you aren't familiar with the different kinds of launches, I recommend checking out Archmage's video that covers all the launches necessary for all collectibles. Now that you have what you need, let's get on with the tutorial. As is Superliminal tradition, Induction is one of the hardest levels in all collectibles, with one of the hardest tricks in the run less than 15 seconds in. This trick, of course, is the Rook Launch. The first step of the Rook Launch is orientating the Rook correctly. To do this, first look straight up after grabbing the Rook, rotate 90 degrees, and then look as horizontally as possible to rotate another 90 degrees, trying to center your cursor in the circle. Now for the launch. This is a fairly standard jump launch involving rapidly clicking an object above you until you can no longer grab it, then jumping into it to launch. This last step is navigating out of bounds. This is fairly simple but takes getting used to, including knowing the timing of launching too short or too high. Just a quick note, while you can launch from the floor as opposed to from the cardboard box, it's less consistent, so we usually don't do that. Once you can see the map again, aim for this tiny ledge and grab the chess piece. Here's the lineup as seen from out of bounds. Highlighted in red is roughly where you should aim, but it is always better to err on the left side than on the right. Notice that this image has unlimited render distance and the lineup is only visible for a short time while doing the trick. Here's the same lineup inbounds from on top of the box. And one facing upwards. I find this to be the hardest part of the launch, regardless of experience level, but due to how early in the run it is, you get plenty of practice. There really isn't a reason not to go for this strat, because it saves so much time, and if you miss it, you're only 15 seconds into the level, so resetting doesn't hurt. The two alternatives to doing Rook Launch begin similarly to each other. Perform the level glitchlessly until you reach the plank room. The first alternative is the Slide Launch. It's a relatively easy and consistent strat, but not very fast. Here's a demonstration from Sapphire. Grab the cube and place it at about this size on the wall. The corner you're aiming for is just over here. Now all you have to do is launch and pick up the chess piece. Of course, the other alternative is glitchless. All this takes is box jumping up to the chess piece. Difficulty and consistency is mostly dependent on how good you are at box jumping. Here's how Sapphire does it. Just size the box so it's easy to jump on. Rotating isn't entirely necessary, but may help, so just do a few box jumps and then pick up the chess piece. Even though these alternatives are easier, you should just do the Rook Launch. As the first trick of the game, it's easy to reset, and the time save is very much worth it. From here, we'll drop down and shrink the cube, and instead of worrying about its size, we can grab the plank in the back as usual. The rest of the level will be glitchless strats until right before the end, so remember to focus on clean movement and precise aim. After the cheese, we've got our first minor collectibles, so grab the extinguisher on the right and the fire alarm on the left, and now it's time for the bed skip. Bed skip is used to get the blueprint on the other side of the pit that leads to the end of the level. Stick close to the wall and aim into this corner here as you jump across the pit. Jump again when you think you should land, and you'll bounce off an invisible edge to get to the other side. Here's a rough idea of the invisible edge. It can be tricky to jump off of, because if you angle too sharply towards the wall, you'll slide off before being able to jump, and if you angle too shallowly, you'll miss it entirely. Sticking close to the wall will help make it more consistent. There is one other alternative, which is using the cheese. This strat is arguably easier than the ledge jump, but the setup is more difficult. First, the cheese's size can't be increased much before using it to break down the wall panels. Then, after breaking down the walls, the cheese must be easily re-grabbable at a small size without slowing down. This either requires mastery of the strat or dumb luck. If you fail to do both, you'll waste both time and effort trying to resize the cheese correctly while also getting the minor collectibles. This is why the strat has a 4 out of 5 difficulty despite being easier in itself. This strat and the ledge strat are theoretically identical in time, hence the NA speed rating. Let's see how Sapphire does it. So she grabs the cheese, drops it without resizing, and pushes the walls down. Then remember you have to drop the cheese in order to click the minor collectibles. And now she's going to flip it around and jump off as it's falling. After grabbing the blueprint, jump down into the loading zone, and you're off to Optical. See you there!